In our last video, we discussed how to create a stress-resilient body during these uncertain times that we're currently presented with, and what was our initial response and what we did to actually ground ourselves during that time. And during that video, Heidi and Elena gave us some great tips on how to bring the calm within during a storm. So some of my favorite tips that I got from that video was definitely the meditation piece. Secondly, creating some rituals in my day, because I know how that can kind of get lost when you're spending a lot of time at home. Today, we're going to be talking about how to strengthen our immune system, which I'm super excited about. Helena, Heidi, what does it mean to strengthen your immune system, but from a nutritional perspective?
Yeah, well, if the gut is healthy, the immune system will be healthy. You know, we understand that the majority of our immune system is in our gut. And so where does nutrition come in? Well, every day, at least 3 times a day, we make food choices that can either support or compromise our digestive system. And so if our digestive system's compromised, it means we've got increasing levels of toxins in the body. And increased toxins elevates inflammation. Now we know that inflammation is the root cause of many diseases like cardiovascular disease, diabetes. It's not just, you know, inflammation in our joints like osteoarthritis, it's beyond that. Right. And so if we have inflammation, what's really critical for us to know about that now is that inflammation lowers our immunity.
Wow, Heidi, I love the part where you said a healthy gut equals a healthy immune system. But there's so much information out there that's, you know, about different diets, different ways to achieve optimal nutrition. What are some of the foundational things we can do beyond that you would recommend?
Well, we know that there's, you know, foods that either fuel our immune system and there's foods that drain it of its resources. Elena and I both, you know, work a lot with this in our practice. So Elena, I'm curious, you know, what's your take on these foods?
Yeah, some of the foods that could drain your immune system of its resources are the following. Some non-organic in general. So non-organic fruits and vegetables. So you want to try to eat as organic as you possibly can. If budget is a problem, you can always go by the Dirty Dozen and then pick from that list. This is the list of the vegetables and fruits that are the most sprayed in the world. And
Elena, that comes from the Environmental Working Group website. That we'll put that on the bottom of
yeah. That's right. We will
link.
Put that.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah. And try and stay away from too much sugar. Sugar really burns pretty dirty in your body, you know, and processed carbs especially. I mean, get your carbs, but get your carbs from vegetables, lots of different kinds of vegetables, starchy veggies, green leafy veggies, you know, from kind of lower sugar fruits, and go easy on the dairy. It's quite mucus forming, but if you're going to go for dairy, you can go for really high quality organic dairy that's fermented, like yogurts, you know, aged cheeses. Gluten is one that's not going to help your immune system.
It's pretty inflammatory, right?
Yeah, and we can go into more detail on this. There's a lot to talk about that later. Meats, fish, and poultry raised on antibiotics or hormones. You want to pick the most, you know, you want to eat animals that are well taken care of, that come from places where they don't use antibiotics, no hormones, ideally grass-fed meats. Skipped farmed fish or fish with high mercury content. So go for wild fish. Some of the fish that are higher in mercury are sharks, swordfish, tuna, for example. And include lots and lots of good fats like avocados, coconut oil, hemp hearts, ghee, grass-fed ghee is amazing. And this is important too, because that's where beauty, you know, your beautiful skin and everything, that's how it's formed from the inside out, because all your cells are made up of a fatty membrane. And when your body's making more cells, it has to have the fatty raw material to make your cells with. And if you only provide it with, you know, oxidized fat or fats that are not very good, then that's what it's going to make your cells out of. And so that means that that cell membrane cannot properly accept nutrients in the cells and remove toxins from the cells, right? And when you eat the wonderful fats, you're going to start seeing it in your skin. It's going to be, more glowy, more healthy. Yeah.
And hey, I think is a really good point to add too is about the vitamins that are in our good fats, right? Like the fat soluble vitamins that we get even better absorbed when we're eating those good fats.
That's right.
The same ones that are good for the skin are good for the immune system, right? Like the vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin E.
That's a really
so beauty and immune system.
I love hemp hearts. I add them to all my smoothies. It gives them this nice creamy texture, which is awesome. But that's a lot of great information. What I'd like to know is what are some of the best foods to support our respiratory system and protect against virus?
Well, there's 3 different categories of foods I'd like to talk about that are really helpful at this time. Number 1 is the antioxidant-rich foods. So this is things like berries, greens, whether it's chard, spinach, kale, mustard greens, dandelion greens. Also, Brazil nuts are a really great source of antioxidant, and one in particular is selenium. Selenium deficiency is something that increases the rate at which viruses can mutate. So we want to make sure we're well stocked in selenium at this time. And
awesome.
Brazil nuts contain an average of 80 micrograms per 1 Brazil nut.
That's a lot.
I know, because the recommended daily allowance, the RDA, is just 55 micrograms. So, if you eat 1 Brazil nut, you're exceeding the recommended daily allowance. So
Soil health, which one, how much do you recommend, Heidi?
Well, usually about 200 micrograms of selenium is like a therapeutic amount to support healthy thyroid function, which is in a lot of the supplements that we use. But, to get it from a diet perspective, you could just eat like 3 or 4 Brazil nuts.
Wow.
Yeah. Not bad, yeah.
And then one of the antioxidant categories that's the most relevant for right now is the beta-carotene rich foods. And so this is things like the, golden orange vegetables like squash, yams, carrots. These are all really high in beta-carotene, and also the dark greens. So I mentioned the greens already, but also includes things like parsley, mustard greens, blue-green algae, which is spirulina, which is really high in chlorophyll. That's really helpful for being really immune supportive. And also nettles are one of the herbs that are most beneficial, and also really indicated for allergy support, which allergies are also kind of flaring up at this time in the West Coast anyway. And this is the season where we can pick wild nettles. They're all natural, but you can actually find them in various places through the city. And I have a really great recipe for a nettle pesto on my website, which is a good way to,
I love your pestos.
So that's a good way to get your antioxidant dose. And then from a TCM perspective, there are 2 other categories of foods that really support our respiratory system, specifically lung health. And the lungs are important protection for our immune system. And so pungent foods is one of the categories. And so this is things like hot peppers and chilies, which, are quite stimulating when you eat them. You can often get kind of this circulation starts moving. And then also the white pungent vegetables. So things like onions and garlic, which, chopping your onions starts to get the nasal passages going and the eyes tearing. Horseradish, which is great. We use that a lot in herbal medicine for helping to clear sinus congestion. We use it in tincture liquid form, but you could even just get a jar, at the grocery store, often used for like roast beef. But wasabi is another, member of that same family, which, we get with our sushi.
I love
it's
wasabi.
Great. Yeah, it's really good to use, in salad dressings and marinades, so it doesn't have to just be sushi. Yeah, I really like it for salmon, or like I said, salad dressings is a great way to get it. Or if I'm having like a cold or upper respiratory infection and I've got lots of that congestion, I'll just mix it up with some soy sauce and use it liberally. And then radishes, so just regular, radishes, but also daikon radish, which is used a lot in Asian cuisine, which has a very pungent odor, especially if it's like chopped up in your fridge. You might kind of
like raw, in the raw state, right?
Yeah. And then the last category is the mucilaginous foods. And these are pretty fun. These are very important for our mucous membranes that line our lungs and also our colon. So back to, how important the digestive system is. In Chinese medicine, the lung and the colon are paired, actually. So they have a strong relationship. So there's just so much wisdom in that traditional system of medicine.
Awesome.
And so one of the foods that's mucilaginous is the seaweeds, and the one that's kind of the most is kombu. And Elena, are you familiar with kombu?
Yeah, I actually add it to my soups.
Yeah, well,
lots of soups.
Yeah, the traditional kombu dashi is the base that makes miso soup from Japanese cuisine, but it's also great as something that you would put in with your dried beans or legumes when you're soaking them overnight, because it helps to break down the stuff that is responsible for the flatulence. So it helps to make those legumes more digestible. And
now that's cool.
It is, yeah.
So you just stick it in there while it's like soaking?
Yeah, while it's soaking, and then the next day after I rinse my beans, I put it back in so that when I'm simmering them, it extracts more of the benefits and the flavor, and it's a natural flavor enhancer. It contains glutamic acid, which is what is in monosodium glutamate, although this is the natural form of it. So, and then another mucilaginous food is flax seeds, which I bet you use in your smoothies. And
yeah, I love flax.
And have you noticed? Sorry, what's that?
A lot of paleo baking recipes too. I use it. Yeah,
well, it's also a good egg substitute because it is so mucilaginous. So if you let it soak with water or tea, like herbal tea, it will make that kind of gel-like consistency that will help to bind baked goods. So you could use it as an egg replacer. And it's that mucilaginous quality that is so beneficial for our lungs and our colon. Also, of course, high in omega-3s.
Yeah.
The anti-inflammatory, back to the anti-inflammatory, foods. And also it's the highest food source in lignans, which are the nutrients that help to bind phytoestrogens, those chemicals that we take in from our environment, like on pesticides, like you were talking about, on
so
conventional foods.
We should eat more flax seeds.
Definitely. At this time, so great for keeping elimination moving. And, our lungs and our respiratory system is one of our organs of elimination. So this is why, it's a no-brainer that it's connected with our colon, which is, obviously to us an organ of elimination.
Yes.
But, we want to move oxygen in and carbon dioxide out through a respiratory system. So all those organs of elimination are important to support right now to get, to make sure that we're just getting rid of the garbage, getting rid of the waste. So flax are awesome for that. And then the last food we're going to talk about today is a spice, actually. And so I have a little bit of trivia for you two, Manpreet, as well. So what does curry powder have in common with imitation maple flavor? Any ideas?
I have an idea. You want to answer, Manpreet?
They don't?
Okay, but you know this one very well. It's fenugreek. So, yes, and you are a masterful chef. And I know you make a lot of, you are. And so you use this spice, and I love this one too. It's a pungent, spice that's used in Eastern, Indian cuisine, Middle Eastern, North African. And the cool thing about it is that it has this, this ability to taste and develop this maple syrup-like flavor when the seeds are lightly roasted and ground.
Interesting.
So this is why it's used, not just in the distinctive flavor in curry powder, but also in the imitation maple syrup. And so I like to use this, ground sprinkled in my paleo pancake mix, like batter, and also like on French toast. It's good.
Can you taste it maple syrupy kind of?
It adds that je ne sais quoi without actually adding maple syrup. Yeah.
It's probably the toasting, because I come from an Indian household. We use it fresh, we use it dry a lot as well, and I've never gotten that taste from it. So it's definitely, I feel like the roasting maybe.
And it's the seeds, not the leaves.
The leaves.
It's the seeds.
Yeah.
The seeds that get roasted. Yeah.
But you use the leaves, do you, Manpreet?
Yeah. I use the leaves like fresh or dry more than I do the actual seeds. So. Wow, we talked a lot today about some powerful stuff. We talked about the power that nutrition has on our immune system, which is so important. I've learned a lot personally in our talk today. This is why I truly love our conversations, and I think they're so important because they bring so much value to me and just everyone that's listening here. So thank you guys for that. I'll conclude our video for today. Our next video is actually going to go a little bit deeper into supporting our immune system with the nutrition, but the how and when. So we know what to eat and what to avoid, but we're going to go a little bit deeper on how to eat these things and when to eat them. So I'm super excited to learn about that. Again, we love to interact with our Connect Health community, so we'd love to hear from you guys. Our contact information is on all of our social media, Instagram, Facebook. We also have a website. It's www.connecthealth.ca. And Heidi, you had mentioned a few recipes where you use a lot of these ingredients and spices and things like that, so definitely check out Dr. Heidi's website. It's drheidilescanec.com.
Amazing recipes.
Yeah, I'm posting them too as well. So there's one that I posted on our Instagram, and I'm going to continue to post from your website as well. A lot of great information there. Let us know your feedback. If you guys have any questions or suggestions about future videos on what you want to hear, let us know. But otherwise, it's going to be bye from here.
See you very soon. Video number 3.
See
you guys very soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.